Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're diving into something pretty big.
Yeah.
The future of the U.S. dollar.
No small topic.
And we had a bunch of you reach out and suggest this topic, send in a bunch of articles, and honestly, some of it's a little bit...
Alarming.
Yeah, alarming. You know, Trump's out there threatening these tariffs, and it's got us wondering, is the dollar...
Yeah.
Is the dollar really in trouble?
It's a complex situation for sure.
Okay.
To understand it, I think we need to start with, like, what is a reserve currency?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Essentially, it's the currency that countries around the world hold in their central banks for, international transactions as a store of value.
Right.
And right now, that's the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
Which gives the U.S. huge power on the global stage.
Of course.
But as you said, that power might be starting to slip.
Okay, so let's talk about BRICS. I get that it stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Right.
But it's more than just an acronym, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. BRICS was formed in 2009.
Okay.
With a pretty clear goal, which was to challenge the dominance of the U.S. and Western-led institutions. They've been adding members like Egypt, the UAE, Iran.
Right. So it's growing.
It's growing, yeah. I mean, we're talking almost half the world's population with a rapidly growing economic footprint.
Wow.
I mean, that's a serious counterweight to the G7.
Yeah.
And, they're making moves.
Right.
That could have big implications for the dollar.
Right. And that is where Trump's tariff threats come in, right?
Right.
It's like, if you guys try to ditch the dollar, I'm going to hit you with 100% tariffs.
100%.
Which sounds like a pretty intense game of economic chicken.
Yeah, it's a bold move.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not just rhetoric either.
Right.
He doubled down on these threats when he retook office in January.
Really?
Yeah, and even said countries should just say goodbye to America.
Wow.
If they try to move away from the dollar.
So here's what I don't get.
Okay.
Is BRICS actually trying to replace the dollar?
Right.
Like, entirely?
Yeah.
I mean, some of these articles that we got sent make it seem like it's a done deal.
Yeah.
The dollar's finished.
Dollar's dead.
Others are kind of like, oh, well, they just want to trade more fairly using their own currencies.
Right. It's not a simple yes or no answer.
Okay.
While some economists argue that, BRICS nations are trading valuable goods for, a fiat currency like the dollar that could be devalued by inflation.
Right.
BRICS itself has an announced coordinated effort to replace the dollar.
Okay.
Like South Africa, for example, has stated their main concern is mitigating exchange rate fluctuations.
Okay.
Not abandoning the dollar completely.
Okay, so not a full-blown dollar collapse.
Not yet, no.
But even if they're not, actively plotting to destroy the dollar, isn't Trump's strategy kind of backfiring?
Yeah, I think that's a key point.
Yeah.
His aggressive stance could be unintentionally pushing these countries further away from the dollar.
Who wants to do business with someone who's, waving around tariff threats?
Nobody.
Right.
It's like he's trying to hold on to a handful of sand.
Oh, that's good.
The tighter he squeezes, the more slips through his fingers.
That's a really good analogy.
Thanks.
So it sounds like this is less about BRICS launching a coordinated attack and more about them just taking steps to create a system that benefits them.
Right.
Even if it means a less dollar-centric world.
Yeah, they're focused on creating joint investment platforms.
Yeah. Okay.
Boosting trade.
Yeah.
Using their own currencies.
Yeah.
Reducing their reliance on a system they see as unfairly benefiting the U.S.
Right.
And the more they succeed, the more tempting it'll be for other countries to follow suit.
Okay, so all of this sounds pretty significant.
It is.
But why should I care?
Right.
What are the implications?
Yeah, this isn't just about economic jargon.
Right.
This is about global power dynamics.
Right.
Right now, the dollar's dominance allows the U.S. to do things like impose sanctions on countries.
Right.
Essentially limiting their access to the global financial system. If that power weakens, it could reshape the global balance of power.
Wow.
In a big way.
So it's almost like we're seeing the decline of Pax Americana.
It's a possibility.
And the rise of something new.
Yeah,
something multipolar. Yeah, a lot of these articles are saying that.
Yeah, to really understand
right.
what this multipolar world might look like, we need to consider the other players stepping onto the field.
You mean like the euro?
The euro.
And the yuan.
And the yuan, exactly.
Okay, so those are the big
ones. Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. All right, so we've got the euro, the yuan, and the reigning champ.
The dollar.
The dollar. It's a three-way race.
That's shaping up that way.
For global currency supremacy.
Yeah, but it's important to remember that a currency's strength rests on the economic foundation of the country or bloc using it. A currency is like a report card.
Interesting.
For a country's economic health.
So a currency is only as good as the economy backing it.
Exactly.
It's not just about ambitious goals.
It's about fundamentals.
It's about the fundamentals.
Exactly. The future of the euro, the yuan, and yes, even the U.S. dollar hinges on how well their economies perform in the coming years.
If the Eurozone can keep growing.
If they can navigate their challenges and sustain growth, the euro will become an even more enticing alternative.
Yeah, and the same for China.
Exactly.
If their economy keeps growing.
If they can convince more countries to adopt the yuan.
They'll be a dominant force.
It could be a dominant force.
This is high stakes.
It is.
What are your thoughts on how this might play out?
Well, it's a really dynamic situation.
Sure.
You know, with many factors influencing the outcome. Predicting the future is impossible.
Sure.
But what we can do is analyze the potential scenarios. One possibility is a more fragmented global financial system. Where different regions and blocs operate with greater autonomy. So it could be increased competition and potentially more opportunities. For countries to tailor their economic policies.
That's interesting. That's a possibility I hadn't considered. A more diversified system. Less reliance on any single currency. But could that also lead to more instability?
That's the big question. The dollar has fostered a certain level of predictability and stability.
For decades.
For decades,
A shift away from that could lead to
greater exchange rate volatility. Making international trade more unpredictable.
Wow.
And could make managing debt more challenging for countries. As the value of their dollar-denominated obligations could fluctuate.
So there's potential for both.
For both.
Positive and negative.
Positive and negative.
Consequences.
Absolutely.
It really highlights
the complex interplay
Yeah.
between economic forces and geopolitics.
Right.
We live in a world where change is inevitable. And the old rules are constantly being rewritten.
This is a reshaping of the global order.
It is.
And the implications are
far-reaching.
This is much bigger than just BRICS versus the dollar.
It's bigger, yeah.
This is a fundamental shift in the balance of power.
Absolutely.
On a global scale.
We're seeing the rise of BRICS, the growing prominence of the euro and the yuan, the challenges to the dollar's dominance, all point to a world that is becoming increasingly multipolar. And understanding these dynamics is essential for anyone who wants to make sense
of the world today.
Of the world.
You've given us a lot to think about.
I'm glad.
This deep dive has been really insightful.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I'm sure a listener is feeling a lot more informed about this complex issue.
I hope so.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier about the historical context of the dollar's dominance. Can you elaborate on how the dollar became the world's reserve currency?
Yeah, so after World War II, the U.S. emerged as the dominant economic power. And the dollar naturally became the currency of choice for international trade and finance. It was also bolstered by the Bretton Woods Agreement. Which pegged the dollar to gold, giving it a tangible backing, and instilling confidence in its stability.
So essentially, they set up a system where other countries could exchange their currency for dollars at a set rate. And then those dollars could be exchanged for gold. It's interesting how one agreement could have such a profound impact on the global financial system.
It really did.
It's like they said, this is how the world's money will work from now on.
It was a pivotal moment.
Wow.
Yeah, the Bretton Woods system provided much-needed stability after the economic turmoil of the war years. And it facilitated international trade and investment.
Okay.
Allowing countries to rebuild, economies to grow.
Right.
And at the heart of it all
yeah.
was the U.S. dollar.
Right.
A symbol of American economic power and influence.
Wow. But that system eventually crumbled.
It did.
I remember learning about the Nixon shock.
Yeah.
When the U.S. abandoned the gold standard.
That's right, by the early 1970s.
Okay.
The fixed exchange rate system was under strain.
Okay.
The U.S. was facing economic challenges. The demand for gold was exceeding supply.
Right.
So in 1971, President Nixon made the decision to uncouple the dollar from gold.
Right.
Effectively ending the Bretton Woods system.
Huge.
A major turning point.
So what happened then?
Well,
did the dollar just collapse?
You'd think so.
Right.
But surprisingly, the dollar remained
really
the world's preferred currency.
Wow.
Even without the backing of gold.
Okay.
It's a testament to the adaptability of the global financial system.
Right.
And the enduring power of the U.S. economy.
So why?
Why did everyone keep using the dollar?
Yeah.
Well,
if it wasn't tied to gold anymore.
Right. Well, several factors contributed. One is simply inertia.
Inertia.
The dollar was already so deeply embedded in global trade and finance. And it was just easier and more cost-effective for businesses and governments to stick with what they knew.
So convenience.
Convenience, familiarity.
Played a role. Yeah, but it wasn't just about habit.
No, it wasn't just habit.
Right.
The U.S. economy remained a powerhouse.
Right.
And the dollar continued to be seen as a safe and reliable store of value.
Okay.
The U.S. had deep and liquid financial markets.
Yeah. Right.
Meaning there were ample opportunities to buy and sell dollar-denominated assets.
Right.
And crucially, the U.S. military power provided a sense of security for those holding dollars.
Okay.
So in a world filled with uncertainty, the dollar represented stability and predictability.
So the dollar's dominance became
kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, the more people used it, the more valuable it became. The more valuable it became, the more people used it.
Exactly. Yeah. But like we discussed earlier, that cycle might be breaking. The rise of BRICS, the emergence of alternative currencies, the shifting tides of global power, all putting pressure on the dollar's preeminence.
It seems like the world is entering a new era.
It does.
Where economic power is more dispersed and no single currency reigns supreme.
That's a very astute observation.
Thanks.
We might be witnessing the dawn of a multipolar financial system, one where the dollar shares the stage with other currencies like the euro and the yuan.
And this shift has the potential to reshape
big time
global trade, investment, even geopolitics in profound ways. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We've explored the history, the complexities, and the potential future of the global financial system.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground.
We did. And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has provided you with
a deeper understanding
of the forces shaping the world around us.
Of the forces at play.
The future of global finance is uncertain.
It is.
But one thing is clear.
What's that?
Change is inevitable.
Change is a constant.
Stay curious. Stay informed.
Yes.
And keep those questions coming.
Absolutely.
Until next time. Keep on diving deep.
Keep diving.
So we were talking about the euro and the yuan.
Right.
And you were saying that these currencies are gaining some traction.
Yeah, they are. They're
as potential rivals.
It's becoming increasingly clear. That the global financial landscape is no longer a one-currency show.
Right.
The euro, for instance, has established itself as a major player since its introduction over 2 decades ago. It's backed by the economic power of the Eurozone, which has proven to be a force in global finance.
It's kind of ironic when you think about it. It was designed to
simplify trade within Europe.
Right.
And now it's potentially challenging the dollar on the world stage.
Exactly.
It's a testament to its success.
Right.
The euro is already a significant reserve currency held by central banks worldwide.
Right.
And a large volume of international transactions are conducted using it.
And I imagine the Eurozone's focus on stability makes it attractive.
Very much so.
For those seeking an alternative to the volatility that can sometimes come
Absolutely.
with the U.S. dollar.
It provides a sense of predictability,
right,
which can be very appealing.
But the Eurozone has had its share of struggles.
Oh, of course.
The Greek debt crisis raised questions about its long-term viability.
Yeah.
All those questions about, you know, is the euro even going to survive this?
That's right.
So
it's a diverse group of countries with different economic strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
Finding common ground can be a challenge.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the big takeaways from that whole situation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But despite these hurdles, the euro has shown remarkable resilience.
It has.
It's adapted to crises and ultimately emerged stronger.
Okay.
And as the Eurozone continues to grow and integrate, the euro's appeal as a global currency is only likely to increase.
All right, so the euro is a contender.
It is.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But what about the Chinese yuan?
The yuan.
China's economy has been on a tear for years.
On fire.
And they seem determined to make the yuan a major force in global finance.
The yuan, or renminbi, as it's officially known, is definitely the rising star.
Yeah.
China's been strategically promoting its use for international trade and investment. And they've been racking up some wins.
Like what kind of wins?
Well, several countries have signed on to use the yuan for bilateral trade deals.
Okay.
And China has established its own international payment system, CIPS, as a direct alternative to SWIFT.
Okay, hold on. Remind me what SWIFT is again.
Yeah, so SWIFT stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication.
Catchy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, it's the messaging system that banks all over the world use to communicate and facilitate cross-border payments.
Okay, so China's basically saying,
we don't need your systems.
We'll build our own.
We'll build our own.
It's like they're playing 3D chess.
That's a good way to put it.
While everyone else is stuck on checkers.
Yeah, they're thinking long term.
Right.
They recognize that control over global financial infrastructure equals power.
Of course.
And they're not content to play second fiddle to the West.
Right.
They want to be a major player.
Okay, so we've got the euro, we've got the yuan, and then there's the reigning champ, the U.S. dollar.
Right.
It's starting to feel like a three-way race.
It's shaping up that way.
For global currency supremacy.
But it's important to remember that a currency's strength ultimately rests on the economic foundation of the country or bloc using it.
Right. A currency is like a report card.
Exactly.
For a country's
economic health.
Economic health.
Exactly.
So you're saying a currency is only as good
as the economy backing it.
As the economy backing it.
It's not just about flashy features or ambitious goals.
Right.
It's about solid fundamentals.
So the future of the euro, the yuan, even the U.S. dollar,
all of them
hinges on how well their economies perform.
Exactly.
If the Eurozone can navigate
their internal challenges
and sustain growth, the euro will be
an even more enticing alternative to the dollar.
And same with China. If their economy continues its upward trajectory.
And they can convince more countries to adopt the yuan.
This all sounds...
It's high stakes.
Pretty high stakes.
It is.
What are your thoughts on how this might play out?
Well,
you know,
predicting the future is always a risky business.
Sure.
But we can look at some potential scenarios.
Okay, so what do you see?
Well, one possibility is a more fragmented global financial system where different regions and blocs operate with greater autonomy.
So less reliance on any
single power.
Okay, interesting. So that could mean
increased competition.
Okay.
Potentially more opportunities for countries to tailor their economic policies to their specific needs.
Okay, that's an interesting possibility.
Yeah.
I hadn't really considered that.
Yeah, a more diversified system.
Yeah.
Less reliance on any single currency.
But could that also lead to more instability?
That's a good question.
Because, I mean, the dollar has provided...
a certain level of predictability.
Has fostered a certain level of predictability and stability.
The shift away from that
could usher in greater exchange rate volatility, which would make international trade more unpredictable.
And it could make managing debt
more challenging.
Much more challenging for countries as the value of their dollar-denominated obligations could fluctuate significantly.
So there's the potential for both.
Both.
Positive and negative.
Positive and negative.
Consequences, absolutely.
It really highlights the
interconnectedness of the global economy.
Right.
And the complex interplay between economic forces and geopolitics.
We live in a world where change is inevitable.
Change is the only constant.
And the old rules of the game
are constantly being rewritten.
This is nothing short of a reshaping of the global order.
I think that's fair to say.
And the implications are
far-reaching.
This is much bigger.
Much bigger.
Than just BRICS versus the dollar.
This is about a fundamental shift in the balance of power.
On a global scale.
On a global scale.
The rise of BRICS.
The growing prominence of the euro and the yuan.
The challenges to the dollar's dominance.
All of these trends point to a world
that is becoming
increasingly and understanding these dynamics is essential for anyone who wants to make sense of the world today.
Absolutely.
You've given us a lot to think about.
Well, I'm glad.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It's been a pleasure to explore these questions with you.
I'm sure our listener is feeling a lot more informed about this.
I hope so.
Complex issue.
It is a complex issue.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier about the historical context of the dollar's dominance. Can you elaborate on how the dollar became the world's reserve currency in the first place?
Yeah, so after World War II.
So we were talking about how the dollar became the world's reserve currency.
Right.
And you mentioned the Bretton Woods Agreement. Can you remind us what that was all about?
Yeah, so after World War II, the U.S. was in a really strong position economically. And the Bretton Woods Agreement basically made the dollar the world's reserve currency.
Okay, so it wasn't just a natural progression.
Well, it was partly a natural progression.
Okay.
But the Bretton Woods Agreement kind of formalized it.
Okay.
It pegged the dollar to gold.
Right.
Which gave it a tangible backing.
Okay.
And made people feel confident that it was stable.
So other countries could exchange their currencies for dollars at a set rate.
A fixed rate.
And then those dollars could be exchanged for gold.
For gold.
So basically it created a system. Where everyone was using the dollar.
Exactly.
Because they knew it was as good as gold.
It was a really clever system.
And it worked.
It did for a while.
But then
things changed.
Even Nixon shock.
Yeah, in 1971, President Nixon decided to uncouple the dollar from gold.
Which was a huge deal.
It's a seismic shift.
So what happened then?
Well, you'd think the dollar would have collapsed, but it didn't. Yeah, it remained the world's preferred currency.
Wow, so why did everyone just keep using it?
Well, for a few reasons.
Okay.
One is just inertia.
Inertia.
The dollar was already so deeply ingrained. In the global financial system.
It was easier to stick with it than to switch to something else.
And it was also still seen as a safe haven.
Okay.
The U.S. economy was still strong. And its military power provided a sense of security.
So it was a combination of factors that kept the dollar on top.
Even after the gold standard was gone.
But like we've been discussing, the dominance is being challenged.
It is.
The world is changing.
The balance of power is shifting.
And the dollar's future is uncertain.
It's a fascinating time to be watching this unfold.
This has been a really insightful deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the history of the dollar.
To the rise of BRICS.
And the potential for a multipolar world.
And the implications for all of us.
So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding
of the forces shaping the world,
of these complex issues,
and encouraged you to think critically
about the future of global finance.
The future is unwritten,
and it's up to all of us to shape it.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time,
keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.